Coming up in this half hour, Kevin and Sarah, well, they put 2 digital cameras to the test on their European vacation, see which one they liked the best. And our next caller is Wi-Fi needs a boost. Now, the majority of the population in the U.S. uses Windows, but there's a growing number of people who use Linux and other operating systems. What do you need to know before moving to Linux? Well, our next guest, Marcel Gagné, has got, well, you know, he wrote an entire book about just that, moving to Linux. Welcome, Marcel, to the Screensavers.
Thanks very much for having me.
Now, I was double-checking your last name. Did I get that right?
It's Gagné.
Gagné.
Which I guess is pretty perfect. I don't know.
We should actually point out, if we can get this screen up here, we threw the CD that comes in your system in here about 2 seconds before we went to the commercial break. So this, we don't have full scan. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Oh, well. We're going to show you this great. We can show you the screen here, but you're saying basically, Linux is finally to the point. We booted this off the CD in there. This is a version of Knoppix that comes on there. It's customized. If you pull down a little bit, you can actually see the operating system parts in there. If you pull back a lot, you can actually see the operating system. If you pull back a lot,
you get to see the horrible picture I took of myself and stuck on there.
I like that thought. But basically what you're saying is like, Linux, you don't need Windows. You don't need to buy a special machine. Linux has gotten pretty painless, pain-free, much easier to run on a home system.
Yeah, it does. I mean, well, first of all, what I should tell you about is the CD that you're playing with that you booted off with. The idea behind that is to make it really simple for somebody to play with this thing. So what they do is they pop the CD in, they basically turn on the computer, the system boots up, Linux is running. I mean, you can play with the word processor, the games, all the various things that are on there. In fact, it'll take care of your Ethernet card and your network connection. It's pretty cool, actually. But basically, any kind of modern Linux distribution now is practically painless. Basically, you take the CD, you pop it in, and it will detect all your devices. It'll install without too much trouble. In fact, you can even do the dual boot thing. Most modern distributions will actually resize your Windows partition so that you can both run Windows and Linux at the same time.
So you don't have to give up on one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
What's the? You said when the process of writing this book, you kind of tested this out. Your parents have run. They have one computer. They've run nothing but Red Hat Linux their entire lives, or computing lives, as it were.
Their computing lives. 3 years.
What's the biggest thing people run into if they're? Is it easier to start fresh on Linux, or what pitfalls do people run into if they move to it?
I mean, one of the reasons that Windows is so simple, you know, and particularly in terms of installing, is it comes pre-installed. You never have to do that. And of course, if you're starting fresh with something, you're used to the idea that you've got this learning curve thing, okay? So, I mean, you're going to have to learn a few things anyhow. It doesn't really matter. Sure. If you're moving to something else, then you got to have you got to have a little bit of an attitude, which is things are going to be a little bit different. I mean, the fact is, everything, you right-click, you know, menus pop up, you click the thing that looks like a start button, and there are programs that run and so forth. So, I mean,
there's a lot of conventions they hold to in Linux.
Yeah, so it's not that freaky, but it's like, you know, things are a little bit different. And one of my 3 tips that I was going to talk about has to do with, you know, the attitude that you take into this. And if you jump into a new car, for instance, or something like that, you still know how to drive. You know, you still know how to turn it on.
It's got power windows. You just got to figure out where the switch is.
Yeah, or the new buttons on the radio. You know, you don't know how to preset your stations and so forth. Same sort of idea. So you just take that into consideration.
I've always said that if somebody's moving to Linux, basically like put away all your Windows systems, spend 2 weeks, and force yourself to learn everything you need how to learn, you know, as you go along. Is that extreme? Is that a good way to...
That's probably extreme. I mean, that's probably extreme. But I think what you do is you take it as fun. I mean, you take it as, I'm trying something new. I'm playing with this. I'm going to get used to it. And you have fun with it.
Cool.
You know.
It's very cool.
Take it easy.
We had 2 more tips in there. What are the 2 things you recommend people do before they fire up a Linux? Now, the Knoppix CD, you can boot it from the CD-ROM. You can install it to the system. Before people install Linux, what do you think they should do?
Okay, like I said, this CD is painless. I mean, this doesn't install on your system. You don't have to worry about it. You boot off of it. Your system is cool. Take the CD out, reboot, and you're back in Windows. Life is good. The 2 things that you probably want to think about is, number 1, just take a look at your system. What do you got in terms of devices? You know you've got a printer there and so forth. A modern Linux distribution pretty much figures out all the hardware. It's not that big a deal. Okay.
So an inventory.
Yeah, it does all that stuff. But you want to do an inventory. You know, start settings, control panel. You know, check out your system, what kind of hardware you've got.
What kind of graphics card? How big is my hard drive supposed to be?
Absolutely. But the other big thing, ISP settings are a big thing. Get a hold of your ISP, or take out that little piece of paper you got from your ISP. Username, password, the phone number that you have to dial into. Thing number 2, backup, and backup again. If you're going to move to Linux, in fact, if you're going to do anything to your hard disk on your system, you want to make sure that your data is safe. And I'm talking about your email, word processing documents, Excel spreadsheets, that sort of thing. Because, you know, once it's gone, it's gone. You're not getting that stuff back. So, and of course, if you're dual booting, you can access those documents from the Linux side. So Linux will access your Windows documents. You can pull them in, edit them, work with them, and so forth.
Just make sure you don't format them or erase them.
Just make sure you don't format them. Or if you're going to format and go the whole way through, make sure you back up before you do that.
Excellent advice, Marcel. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find the book, and you can find the man's website, Marcel Gagne. Oh, wait, did I get it right?
.com.
.com.
www.marcelgagne.com.
And if you want to get a copy of Marcel's book, Moving to Linux, head over to thescreensavers.com, and 6 lucky viewers will be chosen at random to get a copy of the nifty new text. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen, and stay where you are.